Mm. There we are. Am I on? Yes. What is going on, everybody? It is me, Ben Cornett. I am the host of Have At It. And how's everybody doing tonight? Sorry for the quick post video. I know I just started sharing it to multiple groups. I'm here on YouTube, Ben Cornett 9015, as well as in Facebook, the Ben Zone. So, it's been quite a few days for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. As you know, I am a fan of the Bucs. If you have not seen my show before, thank you for tuning in. I don't just talk about the Bucs. I talk about NFL, other sports. So no bias here. But this episode, I'm gonna specifically talk about my Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So I posted a video on YouTube Sunday talking about the Baker Mayfield situation. How I felt, what Baker should get. But as we found out today, uh, Baker is done negotiating. At least that's what's been reported. Now, you never know. There could be still. It doesn't mean Baker Mayfield's not going to sign with the Bucs. Before the season starts. There could still be a contract ready to be offered to him, and the Bucs and Baker could very well come to terms. But as of right now, they are stalling on the talks. So they're not going to, push forward with it for now anyway. And Baker's focused on being at training camp and practicing with the Bucs and getting ready for the season. So that situation has already been talked about. You can see on my previous YouTube video about Baker. Now, the other bombshell that dropped yesterday was that Vita Vea, defensive tackle for the Bucs, who's entering the final year of his contract, said that he is, or it's been reported that he has requested a trade. He feels like he's currently underpaid compared to the other top defensive linemen in the league. preferably at his position, which again is the nose tackle. He's saying that Dexter Lawrence got a big payday, ended up being traded from the Giants to the Bengals. And just this afternoon, I got an alert on my phone from one Adam Schefter on Twitter. I don't know him personally; he doesn't know me. Um, Saying that Jalen Carter got a new deal. Um, what that is, let me look at that real quick. So Philly is paying Jalen Carter um, 4 years, $152 million. Extension worth up to $160 million, locking him through the 2031 season. Okay, so that didn't help either. With as far as on the Bucs end, you know, and Via's looking at that now, being like, "Oh, okay." I'm sure he was thrilled. So, oh man, how do I feel? How do I feel? How do I feel about this? Well, Vita Vea has been nothing but great for the Bucs. He has just been a phenomenal defensive player on this team. Uh, you know, he's he's a freak. Let's face it, this guy is a freak of nature. He's for a huge guy like Vita, the guy is athletic as hell. And the guy can just dominate an offensive line. He's that good. There's a reason why he gets double teams, you know, throughout the games. And what I want to know is, how do you replace that? Okay. For one, you don't. You don't replace a Vita Vea. In fact, during the offseason for the Bucs, they were getting guys in free agency, the Sean Robinsons, the Alex Alazones. They were getting people to build around Vita Vea. And now he wants out. Supposedly, he wants to be traded because he feels like he should get an extension, get paid more for his position, for what he's done. Look, I'm all for players getting all their money. And, you know, I think he should get paid. Now, do I think, like I said with Baker Mayfield, I'm not worried about the cash part of it per year. What I'm worried about is the years. Do the Bucs want to commit to a 31-year-old Vita Vea who, again, he's still a really good nose tackle, but at the same time, he's getting older. He's getting, physically could get worn down with age. It's a grueling position. He's been a run stopper. Teams don't run against Vita. The double teams, the punishment this guy's taken. He manages to play through a lot of pain. I don't like how he's been labeled injury prone because last year he played pretty much every game. So I don't know where people get the injury prone idea from. But at the same time, 31's 31. Dexter Lawrence is 28. Jalen Carter's 25. And Via wants to get paid like that. Now, again, I'll clarify. The money I don't mind, it's the years. How many years do you want to commit to a 31-year-old guy? Right now, I'm willing to do 2 years, 45 to 50 million. I think that's fair price. For Via, his age, he should get paid more. But I don't know if I want to go past 2 years. It's just like Baker. I don't know if I want to go past 2 fully guaranteed years. The Bucs listen, the Bucs do have to think about the future here. Again, my opinion. They have to think about the future. Now, you know, I see fans, blaming Jason Light for part of it, and he gets some blame to an extent, you know. But how do you know that Jason Light hasn't tried to get that contract for him? You got to remember, Jason Light has bosses above him too. Him and Mike Greenberg. They have bosses above him. You know who those guys are? The Glazers. So ultimately, it's the Glazers' money. Again, Jason Light, I'm sure he wants Baker back. He wants Villa back. At least I think he does. I don't know why you want to get rid of Vita Vea. But he has to understand too that, those guys aren't going to get like the exact money they want. But at the same time, Jason Light's not going to, he can go up. He can say, okay, I want to offer you this, but I got to answer it above too. So yes, Jason Light probably could have done the extension in the offseason. Probably waited too long to do that. But at the same time, I mean, he still has to answer to people above. It's not his money, ultimately, is what I'm saying. So it's a very tricky situation. My thing is, here's what I don't want if I'm the Bucs. Here's what I don't want. I don't want to have Vita Vea play out his contract because people are saying, well, he signed a contract. He needs to play his final year, and then you can extend. I disagree. You got to do one or two things if you're the Buccaneers. You either extend him for 2 years or you trade him. I don't want to lose Villa for nothing. I want to get something, at least something, back for Vita Vea while he still can play at a certain level. Okay? Because you just let him play out his contract and he enters free agency. Then what? You may lose him. Well, okay, well, franchise tag him. Well, what if you don't pay Baker this offseason? Then who are you going to franchise? Baker or Villa? So the Bucs have to come up with a decision here very soon. Otherwise, this thing's going to drag into the season, and it is going to be a distraction. I don't care what anybody says. These are distractions that can affect the team, especially when, like a Alshon Robinson who wants to be out. He said he wants to play next to Vita Vea. And now this. So that could be a little discouraging. Like, hey, I signed with the Bucs and wanted to play alongside Vita Vea. But now he's like requesting a trade. So, it's things like that can disrupt the locker room. And I get it. At the end of the day, it's a business. I know, I've heard comments saying, well, what happened to loyalty and stuff. Guys, at the end of the day, it's a business. I don't want to lose Villa either, but the only way I would be upset about losing Vita Vea is if we just let him play out his deal and he goes into free agency and signs with another team, and we don't at least get anything out of it. That's my only concern. Like I said, the Bucs need to do two things. Either sign him to an extension, 2 years, $45-50 million. 3 years at worst, but I wouldn't go past that. Or you trade it. Try to get some, you can get maybe a second rounder at best for him. But you got to get something for him if you're going to let him go. So that's just my opinion on it, how I feel about it. Again, you don't have anybody to replace Vita Vea on the roster right now. I would say sign him to an extension. Okay? If you're not going to do that, then you trade him. I prefer to keep him. Now the question is, the fans, well, who would you rather keep, Vita Vea or Baker Mayfield? That's tough. It's tough because, to me, who's more important to who? Is Vita Vea more important for the Bucs defensively, or is Baker Mayfield more important to the Bucs offensively? Now understand, the quarterback position is one of the most important positions in football. Not only that, but financially, it's the most important position in football. Whereas defensively, you don't have to pay nearly as much. So for me, I'd probably want to try to take care of Vita Vea first, because you're not paying nearly as much for him. And quarterbacks in the quarterback market, especially what Baker's trying to ask for, you're going to have to pay a lot of money. I would take care of Vita Vea first. That's just me. You can let me know in the comments, what do you guys think? Who should we pay first? Should we pay both of them, one of them, or any of them? So, again, I'm going to say pay Vea first, because, again, you can't replace this guy. All right? The guy is a brick wall. The guy, teams that want to run the ball don't do very well against the Bucs run game. So I would pay Vea first, but that's just me. All right. We got some comments in here tonight. Marty McKnight. Thanks, Marty, for tuning in. How you doing? I can see Baker having another good to mediocre season, still thinking $50 million a season, and the Bucs saying no. Probably going to lose Chris Godwin after the season. Yeah, I mean, again, Mike, I love Baker. I really do. I like his moxie. The guy is he's really a linebacker playing the quarterback position, at least with his attitude. But man, he's 31. I know. I'm not trying to discriminate against age here. But if Baker was more of a pocket passer and wasn't taking as many hits, okay, I feel more comfortable giving him more money. But at the same time, kind of quarterback he is, he's not a pocket passer. He's more of a, plays out of the pocket, tries to stretch plays, does that too much, tries to do too many things. The turnovers, while not too many interceptions, but the ones that he does throw are the ones he usually tries to make plays on that may not always be there. So, again, I said in my last video, I would give Baker 3 years, $160 million, 2 fully guaranteed years. Can't go any more years than that, just because the style is age and the style of play he is as a quarterback, which can lead to more injuries. If you've seen the series on Netflix, Quarterback, you saw what the guy was dealing with last year. The shoulder, the bicep, other kind of injuries as well. The leg. I mean, this guy was getting beat up. And eventually that catches up with you. So, again, I'm not against the money per year. It's just the years. But then again, that's what not just quarterbacks, but all players look for. They look for the security, for the years. So, I don't know. We'll see how it plays out. This is like Warren Sapp's situation replaying itself over and all over again. Well, yeah, I mean, Warren left was after the 03 season. but he was in his 8th year, and the production did slow down a little bit for Warren. Um, you know, you're right about that, Marty, in terms of, you know, Warren Sapp's situation. Vita is, let's see, he was drafted in 2017, 2018. So he's about to be in his 8th or 9th year as well. So yeah, it is similar. But again, they're aging. And, how many years do I want to commit to this player? I say give him 2 years, and you better do well in the draft. You got it. You got to find his replacement eventually. So, and let's see, Misador, thanks for tuning in tonight. How you doing? He says just because he's requested a trade doesn't mean it will happen. Bucs got to pony up. Yeah, it could be a negotiation tactic. I'm hoping that is. Um, and they do that a lot of times. I mean, look, Myles Garrett did that a year ago, and the Browns gave him a deal. They gave him a contract. So, but then again, it's the Browns too. So, you know how they are. But yeah, and that's what we hope it is. We hope it is a negotiation tactic because again, Villa wants to get paid, and sure, I think he deserves a raise, but I just don't want it to be like a 4 or 5 year deal in the $100 million range because he's 31 and he can still play at a pretty good level. But can he play at that level like he did in the Super Bowl year or the year after that? I don't think he can. If he could, then you can commit to more years with him. I'm not willing to do that as far as the years. The money, fine. Just not the years. So, and we got one more comment in here. Let's see. Scott Thaler, like Scott tuning in, says every player wants to be a Ram. Okay, well, hey, you know what? They got Myles Garrett. They got Trent McDuffie this offseason, so they're doing a good job. They're trying to get every player, trying to get Aaron Donald back. We'll see how that goes. But yeah, for anybody that's just tuned in, I'm talking here on Have At It, episode 118, strictly talking about the Bucs tonight. Normally I talk about the NFL, but I'm going to do that on the next episode. So, as training camp begins tomorrow, I live here in Vegas. The Raiders just opened training camp today. Kirk Cousins is going to be labeled this, the starter right now to new head coach Clint Kubiak, and Fernando Mendoza, the rookie number 1 overall pick, will be the backup. So yeah, training camp has opened up. Obviously, a lot of excitement with the Raiders here in Vegas. In Tampa, a little bit different feeling, with what we just saw, last day or two. Again, if you just tune in, I'm talking about Vita Vea as he's requested a trade. Like Misador said in the comment, could be a negotiation tactic, which I think we all hope as Bucs fans. We hope that's all it is. But at the same time, we can't say that's for sure. Maybe he doesn't want to be here. We don't know. Maybe he wants to get paid. We know that. He's won a Super Bowl. Would he like to win another? I'm sure he would, but it's not like he's ring chasing like some guy in Philadelphia in the NBA is right now. Yeah, he wants to get paid. I'll never blame a pro athlete for wanting to get paid. If you get your money, get your money. Not your fault. The team's the one giving you the money. So, I'm fine with Villa asking, and again, he can still play at a very good level here. My only concern is I don't want to give him too many years, especially when a guys getting older, and we saw that with Levante. Now it was a little bit different. He was going with those 1-year contracts, but you could clearly see he was just not the same player. And you don't want to see a guy like Villa. If you're giving him like a 3 or 4-year deal, and the play is starting to decline, then that's not a great contract. So I would avoid giving him more than 2 years. Give him the 45, 50 million in that range. It's about 22, 23 million dollars. I know Dex Lawrence getting 28 million a year. Jalen Carter, let me look at that again. He's getting the 152 million, so that's 35 million, something like that. If I did the math right. I'm not great at math, by the way. So that hurts now. Like when Jalen Carter got that deal, wow. Now we know Villa ain't gonna get over 30 million a year. I mean, I love Villa, but he doesn't deserve 30 million. But I do think he deserves somewhere between 22 and 25 million. I think it's fair for him for what he can do now, and for the next couple years. I don't want to just pay him for what he did in the past, because that's where a lot of teams get in trouble. He did great back then. He deserves, you got to pay him for what he can do right now going forward. But with Jalen Carter, he's only 25. Dexter Lawrence is 28. So they're younger guys, and you're going to get a lot more mileage out of them. So that's why I say, I wouldn't commit to Villa long term. A couple years, absolutely. Because we still need the guy. The defense is built around him, and that should open up, for more sacks on the quarterback, which last year, unfortunately, we didn't do that. But again, I personally say keep Vita Vea. Do what you got to do. I mean, don't overpay the guy. Don't overpay him too much. But you got to do something to where, okay, this is, here's what we're going to give. Show him that, he's still valuable on this team. That's my thing. Now, I'm sure Villa's going to ask even for more money now because what Jalen Carter got. He's not going to get that, but he's going to ask, and I don't blame him. Go ahead and ask. But I don't see the Bucs doing that. So, well, that's pretty much all I got. As again, this is an unannounced episode of Have At It, but I was able to had a little bit of time to kill tonight. Wanted to get on here to talk about the latest with the Bucs. And again, we're going to be starting some more episodes because we are in football season now. Training camps have officially opened. And the first game is a week from Thursday. The Hall of Fame game. I know it's just preseason Hall of Fame game, but it's still an NFL game. And it's the first NFL game we've seen since February when Seattle beat New England in the Super Bowl. So I'm all for watching Carolina and Arizona, who unfortunately for Carolina had a big injury in their, I think it was their offensive line, if I'm not mistaken, this week. So, injuries are already piling up. But yeah, that's all I got for today, guys. I want to thank Marty, Misador, Scott for the comments. Appreciate that. Anybody that's tuned in tonight, appreciate you tuning in. And I will see you guys next time on another episode of Have At It. Everybody have a good night, and I'll see you next time. Take care.